And now for a safety PSA. If you're holding a Stanley knife, don't go and scratch yourself in the nose. Die Hard 2, Die Harder. That's silly. Released in 1990 and directed by Renny Harlin. Starring Bruce Willis, Bonnie Bedelia, William Atherton, William Sadler, Dennis Franz, Art Evans, and Fred Thompson. Budget of $70 million, domestic take of 117, and international take of 122, for a worldwide total of $240 million and a profit of 170. Less all marketing and associated costs, of course. I always like seeing Fred Thompson in movies. Characters, well, there's nothing really new here, or in the main characters anyway. It's Bruce Willis, Bonnie Bedelia. You know, that's pretty much it. They're back, they're doing a thing, and they're good at it. So let's focus on everyone else. Fred Thompson's in this one, as I mentioned before. I love seeing him in movies. He's just got the voice and the attitude and the look. Always makes a movie good. Art Evans does a good job, and Mr. Dennis Franz. If anything was going to make this look like a 90s movie, it's this guy. Then you've got your associated minions, mooks, and henchmen. Look, they all do a pretty good job. I really quite enjoyed the cast. None of them make a mess of it, you know. All of them do a good job. Some of the supporting actors, you know, they're a little off cue, or the editing just didn't make them look that great, but oh, you know, you get that. But on the whole, the characters are good. There's a couple of great ones, they're your main stars. But yeah, it's a pretty standard action movie in pretty much every respect, to be honest. Well, if it's going to go into anything, it would be the combination of Thompson, Evans, and Franz. Those three as support actors, almost secondary leads actually. They've got so much to do in this film. That was a good combo of characters. Franz as chief of airport police. Look, he was as frazzled and frustrated and cranky as you'd expect him to be. I mean, it's Christmas time at a major airport. The dude really came across as the bureaucrat that did not have time for any of this and was just trying to do his job. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to think big enough to incorporate this sort of scenario. Characters are going to get a 3. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing particularly spectacular about them. And I must say that John McClane showed an incredible lack of character development. He wasn't bad, he just didn't progress at all from last time we saw him. Story. Okay, you'd be forgiven for assuming that the story is just a rehash of the last one, and it kind of is, but only in the broadest possible way. It's terrorists taking over a large installation, they have their demands, and John McClane gets in the way and wrecks things. That's, you know, that's pretty much the same as last time. I remember when I first saw this one, I was thoroughly intrigued at the complexities and the details that they went into in this film. And once again, the villains were organized, smart. They preempted a lot of stuff. They planned a long way ahead. Everything was down to the final detail. And I love that about these movies. And let's talk about why that's enjoyable. Watching a bad guy with an intricately detailed scheme and plan, there's a real enjoyment in watching one hero just crash his way through things like that and wreck the place. I don't know why I find that so enjoyable. It's almost like chaos theory. That one unpredictable element that just gets in there and completely destabilizes all the law and order that has been set up by, well, the bad guy. You want to see them get frustrated and angry at the hero who keeps wrecking house. And that's a real delight. Now, I do think they portrayed the frustrated, quick thinking villain better in the first one. This guy just had a task and plan and so many fallbacks that was really hard to get under his skin. And the way the double-cross treachery story kind of revealed itself, how everyone's collaborating together, that was cool. There are a whole bunch of telltale signs and hints scattered throughout the movie and only became apparent to me on the second or third viewing. As a result, the story's going to get a 3.5. It's well done, it's well executed, it's delightfully complicated, but not so much that you get lost within the film itself. Look and feel. It looked real, it felt real. There are a couple of little things that hinted that it was all on a soundstage, a couple of little things here and there that made it, you know, it was clearly faked. But at the same time, there's so much groundwork and visual representation of everything that needed to be that you bought into it anyway. When I'm watching this movie with everything they were doing to make it look cold, it actually felt cold. You'd believe that it was snowing there, even though it regularly looked like that fake stuff you sprinkle around. You'd also normally say at this point that, gee, it looked so 90s. It was set in the 90s and it was made in the 90s, so I really don't think they had any choice but for it to look like the 90s. Better than it looking like the 80s. And I do love all that old tech. You know, screens and little bleepy things and all the sort of stuff that you get in the control rooms. That always entertains me. It always just looks so cool and feels so cool. The nighttime chase sequence on the snowmobiles, that was pretty nifty. The ambush and the gunfight in the annex where the SWAT team gets wiped out, that was okay. It did that 90s thing where you got slow-mo deaths. You know, some dude gets shot 18 times and slow-mo as he falls backwards through something. Always blown backwards through something, over something, into something. It's a staple of action movies from the 90s. And it just felt really obvious this time around. Not sure why, it just really stood out. And every time they're on an aircraft, it actually felt like they were on an aircraft. You know, sometimes you watch these movies and the aircraft is very clearly not really an aircraft. It's a tube-shaped room and they just stuck some seats in it. That always looks a bit weird, but no, this one actually felt like aircraft. Man, did things blow up like a 90s action film. And some of the stunts associated with that are just silly. But, you know, still fun enough. So the score for look and feel is going to be a 3.5. Like I said, it all did the part. It looked as good as it should. It made you feel cold. It made you feel the action, the explosions, the gunfire, the combat. You know, it all felt, you know, believable enough. It'd pull you out every now and then, but never enough to derail the film. Besides, it had better attention to detail than many modern movies these days. Script. Well, you know what? All in all, pretty pedestrian. It wasn't fantastic. In fact, in some cases, it wasn't even good. They're delivering the lines you expect them to deliver in ways you expect them to deliver it. There was at no stage any surprises or any particularly juicy or fun bits. The only real times that actually stood out was when it's McClane having a whinge about the fact that here we go again, or any scene with Fred Thompson. The man can deliver his entire line with just a look. Just the look on his face will give you everything you need. In fact, more than like a paragraph of dialogue. I mean, seriously, he's good. But really, look, everything in this was functional, or at least, you know, adequate. Sometimes barely adequate. It just didn't have the polish. Actually, funnily enough, the really good scenes didn't have John McClane in them at all when it came to dialogue and carry on. In many ways, this is exactly like Lethal Weapon 2, in fact. If I didn't know that the next one, number 3, was much better, I'd probably give up in the franchise at this point. Look, I'm going to have to go and give script and dialogue a 2.85. That may sound a little harsh, but really the script for this one was around about TV level or lower for the time it was filmed. And that's not what you want. You're expecting more from a big screen experience. So yeah, 2.85. Sorry. Fun factor. Well, okay. Fun factor is fun. I mean, it's a sequel, right? And it's not a worse sequel than the first one, which is nice. In fact, it pretty much holds steady. It feels about the same quality, same entertainment, same generally across the board as number one. Admittedly, it has lost some of the magical polish, but that's what happens with a sequel. I want to put it at 3. I really do want to put it at 3. It's Die Hard, right? It's part of cinematic history for me. It's part of what I grew up on. I want to give it a 3. But you know what? It almost felt like a chore to watch. It almost felt like an obligation, just because it's part of the series. So fun factor's gonna probably get a 2.85 as well. Fun enough, but there's so many other movies I'd watch before I watch this one. Final score. Add them all together and you get... That doesn't work. Why doesn't that work? Why doesn't... Oh, 8.5. No, 7.5. 2.75, not 2.85. Why did I say 2.85? Twice. Add them all up using the actual numbers I was meant to, it comes to a 15.5. So look, it's a typical action sequel. It's good, but it's more on the okay side of good than the great side of good. I've seen it, I know it, I have no real desire or need to repeat it. But anyway, what did you think of this installment in the Die Hard franchise? Did it feel like a filler movie to you? Or like a stepping stone to something else? Or do you see it as an intrinsic part of the series? So let me know, comment down below or on the Facebook page. Like, share, subscribe as per usual. But most importantly, I hope that you're having a great week and that you get some time to go and have a movie. Have a movie, see a movie, watch a movie. Seriously, you'd think I'd have that down pat, right?